he just goes into Michael Jordan mode.
When it matters on LAN at Champs, you can't ask for more pedigreed players.
They were a top 3 team for a decent amount of time in the beginning of this game.
Welcome to Reverse Sweeps Power Rankings presented by USAA Insurance. Guys, as we have gone into the latter part of the year, Enable Pacman, have the power rankings become more or less difficult as time has gone on?
Less difficult, for sure. The teams are easily more definable now. And, I mean, we just know where they sit. And it's so much easier to predict matches and everything nowadays, too.
Definable, yeah. I like that. You know what teams got the chiseled physique and what teams look like a bunch of dad bods. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty easy. In the beginning, everyone kind of blended in, looked the same. But now you know who has the APAC in the league. And
what's wrong with dad bods?
No, the dad bods are
Nothing,
in.
and if anyone is listening to this and taking his statement literally, they're going to be extremely confused.
Like, what kind of show is this? What is Enable on? I got great analogies. I got good analogies.
I like that.
I don't even know if analogy is the right term for that.
We'll go with it. Let's take a look at the results, guys. Easier to predict how the power rankings will fall because, well, teams like Toronto, 3-0 over GUERRILLAS. GUERRILLAS going 0-2 on the week. Maybe one of those upsets that do occasionally happen. Seattle taking out OpTic in a 3-2. New York coming out on top. London, another kind of one of those losers on the week. Thieves going 0-2, falling to Minnesota and also OpTic. Seattle, well, you managed to get one win, but that was about it. Paris taking them out 3-1. And New York, maybe another kind of one of those surprising ones. They most consider, third best team in the league. Got 3-0'd by Toronto. So losing, maybe not the surprising part, a 3-0. Maybe being kind of the storyline there that's a bit surprising. Let's take a look at the group standings. How did everything play out now that we have the Stage 4 LAN right around the corner? The groups are done. Toronto and FAZE sitting on top at 4-1 and 5-0 respectively. All they dropped, Toronto dropped 3 maps the entire stage. FAZE dropped 2 maps, so very impressive from them. Sitting at the bottom, the likes of Seattle, the likes of GUERRILLAS, folks like Paris and Florida hovering around the top, but unfortunately, the top of the losers run, which is where they will start. Let's check out these power rankings, guys. Let's reveal the power rankings. We have a new worst team. Congratulations, Los Angeles GUERRILLAS. You are the 12th ranked team. Enable and Pacman, why did you give them the honor of moving down to 12th?
3 maps. 3 maps. That's why. They won 3 maps in 5 series. Didn't win a series. Dropped a goose egg. Their 1 floor flat turned into a goddamn garage. Literally no space for improvement. Low ceiling. They might not even have a ceiling. It might be non-existent at this point. They're the worst team in the league. As simple as that. I'm being blunt, but I don't see them competing with anyone. And watch, now I said that they're going to beat LA Thieves in the first round, but regardless, they just don't like that. I think that's the best way I could.
It's funny because that's how I view it too. Say they beat LA Thieves, I'd still be like, man, whatever.
Worst team in the league still.
Yeah, it's to the point where we don't even want to speak on it, and it feels bad that it feels like we just harp on it. It feels like we gang up on them. But I mean,
when you win 3 maps, what do you
3
want
maps
to
in 5 series? That's atrocious.
Yeah,
that is atrocious, and it's not even like before. At least when they were losing, I would say some of them look competitive, so that's why they stay together because it looks like they should be able to win some of them. That wasn't the case, right? That wasn't the case at all. They made London look like the Globetrotters. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not there. It's just not there. And I mean, they're getting to go to LAN, I guess. So that's a plus. I know how these guys feel. They are playing from LA. That sucks in an online world. But I don't know. It's just not good. It's at the point where I'm tired of talking about them. I really am, because they're not going to make a change. So yeah. It is what it is. They even sent their other player away that's now in winner's bracket. So, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not wrong. It's tough to really talk about them because there's nothing positive to say, but it feels like you've beat the negative things to death. So there's just really not much to kind of dig into. Seattle, for the first time in what feels like a very long time, has made some upward movement, only by one place. But hey, they're in 11th, which is
upward
not
movement
12.
is upward movement.
It is. Hey, you're not the worst. You're one of the worst, but you're not the worst.
You lost 10 matches in a row, and we're still not putting you at the bottom. You know what I mean? Hey.
Yeah. They didn't set a record, though. They didn't set a record. Shout out OpTic. They did not set a record.
I mean, they did. Whether you want to say it was a one-off, they did beat OpTic, and OpTic is one of the top teams in the game. And they're just a team. We talk about. We say the same thing about them as well. They're there, you know, and it seems like they just can't close games. And I think this past week shows it. Like, you beat OpTic, a team that everyone and their mom thought you had absolutely no business doing, no business beating them. And then you lose to Paris Legion. No disrespect to Paris Legion, but it's like, make it make sense. You know, they do have some positives. Octane's been playing lights out. Gunless has been playing really well. I do think Classic adding him to the team has helped them, but they're just not that good still.
That was the first win they got since they dropped Looney, which is, to me, incredible.
Wow,
feels like they dropped them all.
that feels like 8 years ago.
Yeah. And they won 2 controls in a row now. So there's things that are trending up.
No Looney Seattle booty.
They had lost on along with their 10-game losing streak. They had lost 10 controls in a row. And now they've won 2 controls in a row. So that's historically been their worst game mode the entire year. So, hey, you won 2 in a row. I don't know if they've ever done that before this year. So, yeah, maybe a glimmer of hope there. But it's time to highlight our CDL Power Rankings biggest mover, presented by Control Freak, LA Thieves. But they went down 2 spots to 10th. I think... is this the first time, guys, we've ever had them in the very bottom 3 in double digits in the power rankings? Do you guys? I don't remember.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Before they made the original change,
yeah,
I feel like they ended up
they might
down
have
here.
sniffed. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe
down
not a new honor for them, but they will go down too. So let's talk about Thieves. Give me positive spins on this. Where can they go? How can they make this work? How can they improve?
Don, you want to go? I'll go for it. Yeah. You know what? Let me
go for it. I don't want to steal your answer. You know.
Yeah. You know, they haven't looked great, Katie, but this roster, they've tried so many different forms of this roster. This is the roster that has the most potential. We're going to LAN. They know that. All of these players have been proven winners on LAN, champions, literally world champions. And you have to think, everyone knows Slasher is a better LAN player. Maybe he just goes into Michael Jordan mode, and not only does he get better, but he just lifts the rest of the team up. We know what they can do. Okay, we know their potential, and maybe when they're in that LAN environment, that's all they need. You know, we've seen players from the team, they talk about, you know, online, and not even necessarily the internet issues. It's different, you know, when you roll out of bed and you're playing these official matches from your bedroom compared to being in that environment. You know, it's like you're getting ready, you're going to work. And I think that's the mindset that will help them. And they better think like that, because they need something to get them going. Hopefully it's that aspect, is being back on LAN, and they can have a really good event, you know. And if that's the case, I would love that if that's the case.
Fair enough. Here's the thing. They have the previous world champion in Huke. Kenny is back-to-back finalist at 2 LAN champs. TJ got 3rd at 1, dropped 60 kills at the previous LAN champs in a map. Slasher, we know he's won champs, gotten 2nd, got 2nd again. Like, these guys, when it matters on LAN at champs, you can't ask for more pedigreed players. You can't ask for people that have turned up individually more than these guys. You can't ask for people who just have the belief. They've been at the brink of losing early on land, like literally the brink in Black Ops 4 of going home early and made it all the way back to the finals. Like you have some really truly great composed players. Now, if they actually get it together between this LAN and the last stage, you're talking about a team that everyone is not afraid of right now. But if they get it together and they look even like a shell of what they're supposed to be, you have a team that can actually scare other teams because they know that Kenny's better than them. They know that Austin can be better than them. They know that what Kyler can do. Like they just feared Kyler all this year previously and all of last year. They know. So if these guys get it together, LA Thieves could be a scary team when it matters come champs.
Yeah, definitely the potential there. I think you explained that really well. The ceiling that each of these players is capable of reaching. And a reminder that Reverse Sweep is presented by USAA Insurance. They make it super easy to insure all of your stuff, like your rigs and gear. They've got your back. Eligibility restrictions apply. Insurance provided by United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates in San Antonio, Texas. Now, let's move things on. Number 9, London. They moved up one. London is... I don't know. London's kind of hard for me because every once in a while I'm like, oh, they kind of had a moment, but it's so far and few between that I'm like, oh, I'm kind of just sad after the fact. So London, you moved them up though. Why is that?
I would actually just say they're a direct benefactor of LA Thieves having to move down with their new team.
Yeah.
And they did get a win this week, right? I believe they beat GUERRILLAS, which of course is one of those wins that I don't like. I don't really value, but they won, and they looked good in doing so.
Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. That was toxic.
That's just rude. They would beat us, I'm sure.
They would be, yeah. Maybe.
But I mean, they, like you said, Katie. Sometimes they look really solid. They look like you're like, okay, this is a really good team. Let's keep it together, and then they let you down. But that's why I mean, 9th is not exactly a great place, but good for them on moving up, and good win against the GUERRILLAS for them. Agreed.
Simple and sweet. Definitely think it was because it was more so LA Thieves not playing as well. But this London team, I will say this: I'm excited, Katie, to see how they perform on land because they have two young guns, and it'll be interesting to see. You know, to kind of see the vibe and I guess just how much confidence they have going from online to land. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now I'm going to kind of combine these two. You guys did not move Paris. They're the first one in this power ranking that you've kept, and you kept them at 7. You moved ROKKR up 1 to 8th. So Paris and ROKKR are 7th and 8th positions. Are ROKKR similar to London in the sense that Thieves went down 2, so those two just naturally went up 1, Pacman? Is that similar, or what, did you guys have kind of some different reasoning for
yes,
ROKKR?
and they did have a good loss to FAZE, right? They played solid versus FAZE. Yeah, they didn't pull it out, but they showed that they showed some sign of life. So they showed some form of what they used to be when they were near the top of our power rankings. So that's really good. They showed that they're ready to compete at the major. I just feel like of all the teams in winners, they're the weakest team currently in the winners bracket, and just benefited a lot from their group, right? So it's easy to say like, why are you gonna put them there when they're in winners and Paris is in losers? But consistently, Paris has been performing just slightly better, I would say. Right. But Minnesota obviously did what they had to do, and they're in a good spot. And they can just prove us wrong and shoot right up the power rankings like Toronto did in the past. Just show us something more.
I like that. I don't even have anything better to that. I mean, I think the one thing that I can say, Katie, is like John said, it's like, how would you have Minnesota above Paris? They're in winners. And I think it's just against the rest of the field. I think Paris has been more competitive, you know, in the games that I've seen. And they're an unorthodox team when you look at them on paper. But they're a team that I really think has more potential to kind of make that run at the major. And, you know, going not even the stage 4, stage 5 and champs compared to Minnesota. I think it's fair.
Yeah.
We'll see. A lot of movement there. As you guys have mentioned before, too, what we said at the start of the show, it's easier for you to figure out where these teams should settle now. So sometimes can be a little more difficult as we go on to have a lot of really in-depth things to say when you kind of are getting what you expect from a team. Florida, though, another team that moved down 2 points in the rankings. Florida and Thieves, the only two that had kind of a quasi-big movement, it's down 2 points. But Florida, they are at 6th. Why did you guys move them down?
I mean, they just had a make or break match versus Dallas, and they lost it. Honestly, it's tough. They had a really tough group, in my opinion, and Dallas just overcame them. And there's not really much to say. They're still a really good team, the best team that's going to be starting in losers bracket for sure. They are the team with the most potential to make the run all the way as far as they can go. And I mean, I still feel like Florida's ceiling is super duper high when all those guys start playing on the same page and flowing. Big Wake Skies, Neptune now. Neptune's been consistently great. They're a scary team still. It's just they got outdone when it mattered by Dallas, and they had to move below them.
To add on to that, too, I don't even think it's they lost to Dallas. It's the way that they did lose, right? Because Florida has looked a lot better this stage. But I think one of the main reasons is because of how well Neptune's been playing, right? He's been getting more kills, valuing his life. One of the reasons why you see him have, a 1.14 in the stage. But their teamwork is still iffy to me. They completely outplayed Dallas Empire when you look at the overall KDs of that series, and they still lost the series. So I'm like worried that they've looked as good as they have, more so because of individual players stepping up than them being in a good spot team-wise.
Yeah.
And I need to see a little bit more from them, like at the major, to see if I'm absolutely capping or it's a good take. But just from the matches that I've seen, I think that is something that could, I guess, falter them moving forward. Right. Whereas Empire, they've had some really close series, and their players have not been playing well. They've been playing good team games. They just haven't been able to, I guess, have that success in closeout as of late.
So then what about Dallas? Speaking of, Dallas and OpTic both moved up. Dallas up 1, OpTic up 1. They are now in our 4th and 5th positions. So where maybe obviously some of your logic for Dallas is going to be similar to Florida in the sense that, well, Dallas beat Florida, so they move up 1. But why do you have OpTic and Dallas both bumped up marginally 4th and 5th? Ian, what's kind of the thought process behind that?
For Empire, it's kind of what we just touched on. Like, they did beat Florida. They are in winner's bracket. Yeah, I know it was kind of lucky. Some situations happened, but they won when they had to. But with that, like, that matchup was huge versus Florida. And the thing is, we know that Empire has potential. They were a top 3 team for a decent amount of time in the beginning of this game. And, then they went through a really rough patch. Vivid seems like he is finally getting more comfortable, and he's almost, in a situation where he can kind of replace Kyler in a sense of the impact on the map. And I think their biggest weakness is their individual skill. I really do. I think they're a great team right now. Besides Shotzi, though, no one else has been consistent. So I think moving forward, if Krim can step up, Illy can step up, Vivid, we need 1 or 2 of those guys to step up. I think they can have a lot of success towards the rest of the year. And then when you look at OpTic, they lost to Seattle, whatever. They bounced back. We've talked about this OpTic. They're better. They beat up on all the average teams. So we know that. I think the only teams that I'm really worried about is the Toronto, is the FaZe, the NYSLs. Well, maybe not even NYSL.
The only thing that I guess it worries me for Dallas is Vivid seems to only be comfortable with them in hardpoint. Outside of the hardpoints, he's like, I would say he's below average to this point for them. But in the hardpoints, he's been maybe their next best player to Shotzi, really consistent in hardpoint. So if they can actually shore that up before the major, and definitely before champs, I really feel like Dallas is on the right road to being a really strong team again. They like Ian said, have really good teamwork. It just in control and S&D, they probably haven't had time to mesh properly yet. And I saw Vivid had won something like 6-23 or something like that in the control. Something ridiculous. Something where he was the major outlier in the map.
Yeah.
And it was like, and it's like, so how do you go from dropping bombs in hardpoint to looking so uncomfortable, not being able to buy a kill in control? You're just not. It's just not your mode with this team. So once he figures that out, and Dallas aren't giving away that map, I feel like it's going to be really good for them going forward. That was a really big win for them, regardless, against Florida. And OpTic, we all know what OpTic brings. So much talent, talent that if you're not playing well against them, they're going to blow you out. And that's what happened with LA Thieves. They just outclassed LA Thieves in all the respawns. And when OpTic's playing like that, none of the lower teams really can beat them, even if they're playing well. Right? So that's the scary part about that team. And obviously, I just don't see them beating the top teams. I just don't even think they have the confidence within themselves to beat the top teams. And we'll see what happens with New York, with ASIM, and whatever sub they get and how that affects them. But we'll see with OpTic. I have faith in them going far in the major regardless.
Well, we've gone through the bottom group of teams, Chad, and now we're to 1, 2, and 3, who are way up here.
Yes,
FaZe, Toronto, and
again.
Subliners. Yeah, they have Pacman. They've not moved. They've not moved for some time. I think sometimes when we do these rankings, I feel like I want to do like 1, 2, 3, and then like a space, and then everyone else.
A couple spaces.
That's
yeah, a couple
what it
spaces.
is.
Yeah, so FaZe, Toronto, Subliners, it kind of speaks for itself, right? Toronto beat Subliners 3-0, and everything's the same.
Yeah, I mean...
Analyze.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, even before this, we had Toronto at 2, even though New York was undefeated in the groups. And, I mean, they showed us why, right? Toronto's just... I actually feel like the only team that can beat Toronto on any semi-consistent basis is FaZe. And even then, those matches were super close. Those two teams are just... They're just phenomenal consistently. And New York's right there, obviously, right? They're a great team. Unfortunate for them that I doubt we'll see their actual lineup. But at the top, we have two teams that are extremely in form, and that's scary. It's almost like they don't even get to practice at these matches because they're beating everyone so fast.
Right.
What was it? 2 map losses for FaZe the
2
entire
for FaZe,
time.
3 for Toronto.
3 for Toronto, all in one series. And it's just like they're speed running these series legitimately. They're that much better than everyone else. They have that much better teamwork, and the only thing that really could stop them, I guess, is if anyone gets shook on land, and I don't see that happening.
Yeah, their combined map count is 29 and 5 for this stage.
Yeah,
They're scary.
They're at a point. I've been there a couple times in my career, okay, but they're at a point now where they only get good practice versus each other. You know, when you're when you're a top team, like there's levels to this, and you know, when I was there, we'd be practicing versus middle pack teams, and I'm just like, I'm not learning nothing. We're just bullying these
teaching
kids.
them.
Yeah,
right.
So like John said, it's tough. That is the one thing that does make it tough. I don't think we're gonna see like another team kind of just sneak on in, but when you only really kind of get quality practice versus one team, when everyone else is just trying to copy what you're doing, and mold it to their own style,
Right.
It becomes easy to kind of, I guess, be caught up on.
Yeah.
But they're the 2 best teams at YSL's right there. As simple as that.
I mean, it's true though too. What he says, it's a good point because I mean, way back in the day now, but when that was us, it's like, okay, that's the team that that's the team that gives us practice, but at the same time, you don't want to play them too much. It's like, okay, that's our best practice, but you don't want the series to essentially just come down to a tie because you guys are practicing each other so much. Like, you don't want to give everything away. Because if you remember, the FaZe Toronto series are neck and neck. They won 3.
They're great.
Like, they're great. They're super close, and every little edge matters. It's just you don't want to give that stuff away, but at the same time, you need good practice for yourself. Everyone's catching up to you. That's what happened last season when Florida caught up to Atlanta and Dallas for a little bit. Like, they just caught up, and it's like, oh, now we have to worry about them. No one was giving them the practice necessary. But anyways.
Yeah. Anyways, they're all really good, and we're excited to see what they can get done at the major, obviously pending what's going on with subliners and Asim and being able to get there and so on and so forth. But that'll be it for us. Let us know what you think in the comments, what your power rankings would look like, what you liked, what you didn't like, out of what Ian and John came up with for this week. And we'll see how everything changes. Could we potentially see some movement in the top 3? Who knows? That'll all come down to the LAN, the first LAN of the year at stage 4. And we'll see you after that wraps up.